right. Thanks for bearing with us there. I wanted to give everyone a few minutes to hop into the Zoom here. Wanted to thank everyone for joining us today for the Quantcast Innovate webinar series. This is our sixth installment, so thanks to everyone who's joined the first five, and welcome to all the new faces. Today's topic is the 3P's of demystifying AI for marketers. For those of you who I have not spoken with or who have not seen my face before, my name is Taylor Core. I've been at Quantcast for about 6.5 years. Today I serve as our head of commercial sales, and today I'll also be your moderator and host. So just to set some expectations, there's going to be a 20-minute presentation coming up, and after that, 20 minutes of questions and answers. So please throw in your questions to the chat. You can start doing that now or whenever the presentation is going. We've had some really great discussions after these presentations. So I'm looking forward to that again today. For those of you who are not familiar with Quantcast or haven't met anyone from the commercial team lately, Quantcast is an audience intelligence and measurement company headquartered in San Francisco, combining machine learning, a privacy by design approach, and live data drawn from more than 100 million online destinations. Quantcast provides software, information, and advertising services for marketers, publishers, and advertising agencies worldwide. Today, we're in 10 countries and have over 20 offices globally. I'd love to welcome today our esteemed presenter, Ingrid Burton. She is our new and wonderful, incredible Chief Marketing Officer. She brings an extensive background in artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, and SaaS to the marketing and ad tech universe. And with that, Ingrid, I will let you take it away from here. But again, I'll be back to answer questions later on, so please throw those in the chat. We're looking forward to covering those with you.
Well, thank you, Taylor, and hello, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here today. Welcome to this webinar. Hopefully, you'll get a lot out of it. I intend to try and, break down, the AI market and what it can do for you as a marketer or as an advertising person or a publisher, so that you know how to move forward into the market in today's world. So I'm going to cover the 3P's of demystifying AI for marketers. So what gives me kind of like the, why can I talk about this? Well, first of all, I have a degree in math and computer science. So early in my career, I was a software developer. And it feels like I've come full circle in my career, having been a mathematician and then going into software development, and now using AI and machine learning in order to get results for our customers, for our businesses. So I've been CMO at a number of companies and a marketing executive for a number of years, and have done a lot of different things. I'd say that this is the most exciting time to be in tech. This is the most exciting time to be a marketer as well. I've had experience doing big data. I most recently came from an AI machine learning company called H2O.ai. Great company, great technology. I was at Sun Microsystems doing Java marketing, SAP doing HANA and analytics marketing. So I kind of got the sense of, where the market is and the technology behind it and what is driving some of the trends in the market today. But also I get a lot of questions around math and marketing. What do they have in common? So first of all, I've never taken a marketing class in my life. It's all on the job training. So for those of you that want to make a career change, you can do it. All right, so let's talk about like the differences and similarities. Actually, it's a lot of similarities between math and marketing. I wrote a blog about this a few years back, and I probably need to resurface it and look at it again. But 3 things that are similar between math and marketing. So anyone in marketing, whether you're an agency person or a publisher, there's 3 similarities. Reasoning. We have to think, we have to analyze problems, we have to solve problems. Those are things that we have in common with math as marketers. Numbers, math people, we love numbers. I was just talking to Taylor before this all started that, my advanced calculus class back in the day was super fun. Hard, but super fun and quite mind-boggling. But numbers are really important, right? Numbers are important to mathematicians, obviously, but numbers are so important and critical to marketing today, right? In marketing today, we're being asked to help drive revenue, touch the pipeline, get more qualified leads in front of our sales teams, analyze what's happening on our websites, figure out like how we can increase our engagement, and it's all numbers driven, right? So math and marketing, numbers. and then creativity. I really assert that every engineer out there is a creative, right? Every scientist is a creative. Every mathematician is a creative. And what are marketing people? We're creative. So really, there's a lot of similarities, reasoning, numbers, creativity, to really, lend themselves well from math to marketing. So, but today I'm going to talk about AI and what is happening in the AI space that's so critical for marketers to understand. Because AI for a lot of people is like a mystery. It's something they don't understand. It's daunting, right? We talk about it being daunting because it's like, oh no, something else I have to understand. Yes, AI stands for a number of different things. First of all, it's artificial intelligence is the term. It was termed in the late 1950s after we saw a lot of math happening pre-World War II, going into the code breaker era, the Turing machine, all of that. Then we termed it artificial intelligence. But I would say it's anything but artificial. It's really augmenting our human intelligence in many different ways. So what is AI? AI is a broad category and applies to many of these categories. Everything from self-driving cars, right? That's an AI. Robotics, what's happening with robotics, automation of all sorts, image recognition. What about our Alexas and our Google Homes? And hopefully she doesn't start talking to me, right? Those are AIs of sorts. There are a number of different types of AIs out there, and you'll hear machine learning, you'll hear deep learning, you'll hear different categories of AI. So today I'm really going to talk about machine learning, which is really the category that I'm most interested in as a marketer because it gives me results. It gives me results, but what it does is it really is acting upon data. So you can't use AI and machine learning without data, right? That is number one. It starts with data. If you don't have data, there's nothing to compute. There's nothing to analyze, right? So I know a lot of businesses have data. They have business data, they have customer data, they have their internal data, they have various systems. They even have, in a lot of cases, sentiment analysis data coming out of AIs, by the way. But you can, analyze your social patterns, your social graphs. You've got data coming out of every part of your business right now. And how can you use that to your benefit, right? I think the big news here is data is everywhere. If you're carrying one of these, sitting on a computer, we're emitting data right now, right? Right now, as I speak, I'm emitting data. As I walk around, I'm emitting data. I'm gathering data. There's data about me, my preferences, and what I do, right? So everything that we touch is emitting data. So you're on a browser, there's data, right? You see streams of data coming in, points of sale data, data coming off of our cars, hundreds of sensors coming off of our cars, right? So, there's data everywhere, and you have to have that in order to do the machine learning that gives you a semblance of what's going to happen, what's happening in the world. But let's talk about what machine learning is. Machine learning is simply math, okay? It's a formula. It's a set of variables. It's a set of formulas, algorithms, creating models, right? Because what's important about machine learning and data is it can give you results. So think about the multivariable equations that would happen if you thought about all the hundred of instances of, things that are happening in your business today, and couple that with, for example, weather data or other points of sale data that might be out there, or what was happening with the Super Bowl and people watching the show, right? And how many people are watching which commercials and what were they feeling about those commercials, as an example, right? That data can all be analyzed and give you a sense of intelligence around what is happening in your business. So it's multivariable equations. It's very advanced technology. There's data scientists that know how to do this. There's very smart business people that can do this as well, in terms of how do I look at multiplications of a lot of matrices with millions of rows of information, right? No human can look at all that data and get a sense of it. So machine learning helps you get a sense of it. It's not artificial, it's augmented, right? It's giving you intelligence around your data. So let's talk about what that looks like. It's math, it's not magic, right? Data plus AI machine learning can give you preferences, patterns, preferences, and predictions. Why is that important? And I'm going to break it down even further, right? This is a math problem we're solving for, right? They equal really getting to know your customers. So you're in marketing. What are you trying to do? You're really trying to get to know your customers, trying to reach new people, new customers. You're trying to create loyalty among the customers you have. You're trying to sell more, market to them effectively, right? We're trying to reach these customers. And so data plus AI machine learning gives us patterns, preferences, and prediction. Let's go a step further. Let's talk about what AI is doing in marketing today. These are just some of the use cases. There's hundreds more, right? Increasing sales, helping, cross-sell, upsell. Classic example. What's the next best offer I would put in front of you? How do I know how to put that in front of you, right? Promotions in the moment. Have you ever stood in a store? Well, maybe not recently, but have you driven by a store and you get an offer? I know that when I get in front of certain stores, they pop up offers right in front of me, right? So they're trying to bring me in, trying to get me to buy, right? That's in the moment, right? Then you look at the next best customer. How do I know who's going to be the next best customer, right? A lot of the internet giants know who the next best customer is because they're doing AI and machine learning on all of the data they have at their fingertips. You want to be able to do that as well. What's the next best action? What will that customer do next? What's the likelihood they're going to buy from you next? All of those questions that we have of how do we reach people in the moment? How do we reach customers at the right moment with the right offer, right? So ad placements, what our company does, what Quantcast does about advertising and marketing to the right customer at the right moment, those are things that we do innately well. We can talk about that in just a little bit, but really this is happening today. How do I know more about my audience? How do I know who's going to buy from me? We used to be a guess, used to be gut feel. Before all AI machine learning showed up, we were all taking guesses. There's the spray and pray of advertising. Now we can get really much more precise. Don't put up a billboard anymore. Figure out where your audience is and really figure out what could you do to attract them to your product, to your business, to your offer, to your service. And then, of course, I think AI is also very important in terms of building loyalty among customers, right? You want your customers to continue to follow you to create a sense of loyalty. I mean, some of my favorite ads during the Super Bowl were brands I already loved. Some of my favorite ads were brands I already loved. And I was like, I actually bought a product based on an ad I saw. Alaska Airlines, one of my favorite carriers. I fly them all the time. They had a brilliant ad. I loved it. I bought a ticket, even though it's COVID. I'm hoping to fly somewhere soon. Anyways, these are examples of AI in marketing today. So loyalty matters, right? So you want to really work on thinking about what problems can you solve in that you have in front of you that data plus machine learning can give you. So we're going to talk about the first P, patterns. So this is about using the data to figure out what kind of pattern can you see in that data, understanding that pattern. I was just talking to one of our data scientists last night at Quantcast who was saying, one of the major brands, it's a clothing manufacturer, was seeing that men were buying yoga clothes a few years back. Okay, why were they buying, what were they doing? They could track and figure out that males were buying, kind of workout clothes. So this company, and I won't say who they are, started investing in menswear for yoga because they saw this pattern emerging. They saw this pattern emerging of men were buying yoga clothes. Now they have a whole line and they've doubled their business. You might guess who they are, but there was data that showed them the way that this was happening because they could find out there's different patterns that these consumers were using in order to make their purchases. Male, female patterns could be different in your business. Don't know if it's male or female, but you could figure out that there's a pattern happening in your business and act on it. It's all coming out of data, right? It's coming out of data and a little bit of data science to help you figure out that pattern. The next thing is preferences. We as consumers, okay, I always say, I'm a consumer. Why are you showing me this terrible ad? I want to be able to tell brands what preferences I have, and they can kind of figure it out from some of the data they have about me, but right now they're kind of missing. I don't know about you. I get really strange ads. We'll talk about that. All right, so We as consumers want to tell brands what's important to me. I would love offers from my favorite brands. I just told you one of my favorite brands. And I want them to give me an offer that matters to me at the moment that I need it, right? So I would like to have us all fix this together because here I am. I'm an outdoorsy kind of person, very outdoorsy. This is me a few years back, backpacking in Desolation Wilderness, which is right behind Lake Tahoe. So it's out in the Sierra Nevadas. And, some of the stuff that I'm wearing is stuff that I have to reinvest in, right? There's new gear out there. So I'm an outdoors person that loves sports, loves traveling. You just heard I like to fly. I love my family, love them to pieces, got a lot of family, and I love taking adventures. So this is me. This is Ingrid Burton, who likes to go outdoors. She's also working at Quantcast, but this is who I am as a consumer, right? What am I getting served up to me? Okay, I don't know about all of you. I'm getting the matchmaking ads. I'm happily married. I just laugh. I'm like, some marketing person out there, some advertising person out there is throwing money down the drain, trying to get me to go date people that I am definitely not interested in. I just got to say, this is a big miss in the industry today, right? This is a big miss. These are just some of the ads that show up around when I'm browsing. They have nothing to do with me, right? So this is something I think we as an industry need to fix. AI and data can fix this. We can fix this as an industry by really approaching, what's happening around identity with a consumer first and a consent first approach. So it will show up in the data because people like myself would have said, I like the outdoors, have all outdoor, retail brands send me coupons. I will buy. I want to buy the latest gear. I want to go on my next trip. So this is something that is possible, but we have to make it possible as well. So let's talk about predictions. I think this is the most exciting part about data in the AI space and machine learning space is what is going to happen next. Do you know what's going to happen next? I don't know what's going to happen next, but data can kind of point out what's going to happen next because it looks at historical patterns and, results that you got in your business and can kind of say, look, this happened a year ago or last week in similar conditions. This might happen tomorrow, right? And retailers are doing this all the time. They're looking at historical, metrics within their business. What is the seasonality? What is happening? But you really have to understand that. You have to understand that by looking at the data. Sometimes there's too much data to look at to really get that. So an AI can help you make sense of what's going to happen next. For example, here we are at Quantcast. We have a lot of data. We have one of the largest unique data sets out there because we're feeding into it from 100 million websites. All right. This is all, a lot of it's consent based with consumers giving their consent running through our publishers that we work with. Anyways, so back when COVID first started, what did we all do? I was a marketer during COVID, first weeks. What did I do? I stopped advertising and pulled all my money back. We all know this problem, right? But we also saw things like here with car shopping. People were no longer looking at cars. Precipitous drop in terms of the sites they visited, what their searches were. They stopped looking, right? Then suddenly in April, the numbers started going up. What was happening? We saw a 48% increase in car comparison shoppings, especially around used cars and dealerships. Why? Because we all had to wear our masks and you couldn't get on public transportation. Actually, in fact, there was no public transportation in the early days of COVID. I don't know about you, but in San Francisco, nothing was running. The streets were empty. I drove up there to go look. There was nobody on the streets. There's no Muni buses, no trolleys, nothing. Okay, so how are you going to get around? You had to go out and find your own transportation. How are you going to get to the store? Right? So we started to see the increase. That was a trend we started to see in a new normal that happened in the early days of COVID. And we have lots of insights around a lot of things that are happening. We have insights, check it out on our website, like even around the Super Bowl, what people were buying for their snack food, etc. But think about it. If you were a car dealer, wouldn't you have liked to have seen that pattern, the preferences and the predictions so that you could have said, I could put offers in front of people. around cars. I'm struggling as a business. Every business is struggling. You could have seen this. You could have seen this coming. There was an 8-week trend that started to see, where we saw people starting to get interested before they started buying. So this is where data becomes really important. And you can see it by pulling that data, doing some analysis and analytics and AI around the data that's existing in front of you. So this was a product that wowed me when I first started looking at Quantcast. I recently joined. Was this Quantcast Measure? It's feeding, it's being fed by 100 million plus websites around the world right now. And you can look at directly what's happening with your audience. Who are they? What are they buying? What are they looking at in a visual, interactive way? It's using this real-time data set, which is unique. Okay, real-time data set, one of the largest in the world, okay, in the open internet, and doing AI machine learning on that data to give you as a marketer, an advertiser, or even a publisher, the ability to see what's happening with your audience. This is transformative. I really encourage you to look at this. I'm still blown away by what we're able to do. Check out our insights, check out our products. AI basically empowers you to be better at marketing. What's the last thing you want to do? Do you want to cobble together a MarTech stack or an ad tech stack that you've got to try and solve for? Or do you want to really do more creative? Do you really want to think strategically about where you should be taking your company, your product, your offers, right? That's what I want to do. I want to work on the creative side of things. I don't want to have to worry about every little piece of the MarTech stack or the ad tech stack and where can I best place my money. I want to go get some creative done and have kind of a technology view of have the technology do that other work for me, not get in my way, but help pave the way for me to be a lot more creative. That's really my focus. So really, if you think about data plus AI and machine learning, it's magic in that math. You've got such insights that you can grab to really get to know your customers, really understand where your market is going, where your brand is going. It really is imperative for you to understand AI and machine learning and what it could do for you in your business. So I'm going to give you a couple of resources because I always get asked this. Number one, Coursera. If you do not understand AI and machine learning and the impact it's having on business, you should. A lot of the leaders out there in every category, every industry are already embarking upon their AI transformation. We all went through a digital transformation. We are now going through an AI transformation. Get in the race to the AI transformation. Start your AI journey. I encourage every business person, every student I meet as well, every college student out there, take this Coursera course by Andrew Ng, AI for Everyone. The first hour, the first session, I don't even think it's an hour. Just watch it. He's going to explain it to you better than I can. He's an expert. And he talks about AI in business and the results you can get. He talks about some of the techniques so you can hear some of the words that I use, but he'll talk about deep learning. He'll talk about other types of AI that are out there that can give you results. It's a great class, nominal fee. He doesn't even know me, but I got to tell you, I'm wowed by this course. Okay, take this course. Again, nominal fee on Coursera, not having to do with my company, but I really recommend every marketer, every business person take this course. Then go to quantcast.com if you want to learn more about us. And finally, we are having our first virtual Nova on March 3rd here in the US. We've got a bunch of great companies joining us to talk about the future of advertising, really talk about what's happening in the advertising and marketing space today. We'll be talking with them. Major brands are joining us, major agencies and publishers as well, to have a direct conversation about what's happening with walled gardens, the third-party cookie situation, the big walled gardens having a big fight with each other right now. All of that will be discussed, identity, data privacy, and we encourage you to join us for that discussion on March 3rd, our first ever virtual Nova. I think it's going to be quite engaging. I think you're really going to enjoy the discussion. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Taylor, to see if there's any questions out there. And I'm actually going to leave up this slide. So
nice. Yeah, that was really wonderful. Appreciate you diving into all that. We definitely have some questions. Appreciate Scott being the first brave participant to put his
Go
question.
Scott.
We've also got a couple questions that were from a previous similar conversation at CES. We might get to some of those as well. But now is the time. If you have your question and you have not thrown it in yet, we will be getting to those live here. So Scott's initial question was around, obviously, cookies going away and being
I
deprecated.
just said they're going away, right?
Yeah,
Cookie, going away.
Obviously a big topic for everybody. There's a lot of ways we could talk about this challenge, but specifically to how, artificial intelligence is going to aid us in tackling this challenge. Curious to get your take.
Well, we need the data, right? So it's really starts with the data. But the data, once we gather the data and you get consent, right? So get the important, obviously, it's all wrapped together. This is the most exciting time to be in this space, right? Because third-party cookies are going away. Unique identifiers need to be created in order to put into the data so then we can go use that data with AI machine learning to pinpoint exactly who that customer is. So it's going to start with consent-backed data, consent-based data, and some, other unique identifiers. I know that the IAB is working on the W3C. We're all involved in that. Others like the UID 2.0 that are going to replace the third-party cookie. Big conversation. I don't have the answers directly, but the people that are going to be on this panel from the major brands and advertisers that I was just talking about at Virtual Nova, come to the discussion and listen to some of their ideas, thoughts, and solutions. Big topic in the industry. We intend to, at Quantcast, interoperate with as many of the identity solutions being proposed that are out there. We will continue to innovate around it. And we have something called Quantcast Choice right now, which is one of the most successful consent management platforms that publishers use to, help consumers to gather their consent and to go into this very large data set that I just talked about. So it is there, but we all have to work together as an industry.
Mm-hmm. And Scott, it's a big topic, if you're interested in diving
in. Big topic.
we can share some more details on what tools Quantcast is using to prepare for that eventuality at a high level. We're interested in maintaining as much of the familiar operations you're currently doing for our advertisers, analyzing your audience, getting results from online advertising, and using privacy so that you're on the right side of any legal guidelines. So
yep. Consent is the most important thing. Yep.
Yep. Question from Joni, and I think this is a really interesting one, and I've come across this one throughout my time at Quantcast here. Obviously, internally at Quantcast and at other ad tech companies, we feel totally comfortable with all this targeting, but a lot of people outside of the industry maybe see ad customization and all this data as really intrusive. And so just from your perspective, Ingrid, having been in marketing for so long, how do we kind of change that perception that tailored ads are somehow evil or intrusive and start?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think, here's how I think about it. We are all consumers, number one, right? So whether you're a marketer or engineer or whatever, at the end of the day, business people are consumers. So we get it, right? That's why I gave my example, which is I get so annoyed when I get bad ads. Okay, we all get bad ads. And I feel bad. So I don't like the bad ads. And then I feel bad for the marketing person or the company that did it because I know they're just throwing their money away. Right. And as a marketer, I feel that pain. So, but how do we change the perception? First of all, we're also the recipients of a free and open internet. Right. How is the internet getting funded? Right. So I have explained this to my family and friends that, we are all the recipients of being able to search the web, surf the web, shop online, enjoying everything that we get to enjoy. But what's the currency of the free and open internet? The currency of the free and open internet is advertising. That is what makes it possible. So can we help the industry do a better job portraying it's not a bad thing? If we have consent first, right? You enter your preferences as a consumer, so you get the right ads at the right moment. That's what I want. I want those ads to come at me where they make sense. I want the next backpack. I want the next fleece. I want the next pair of, high high-tech running shoes, right? I want to be knowing when the next, right now it's COVID, but when's the next ultra marathon that I can sign up for? I want that. So I want to be able to give I think we as an industry, if it's a lot of marketers and advertising people on this call, we're here to help, right? We're here to help the economy. We're here to help keep the internet free and open, right? And if we can also say we're about consent and trust and data privacy, and we respect that, because I want to be respected as well, and I give my preferences and get the right ads showing up in my inbox or my experience, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So I think it's really how we shift the dialogue. Admit what's happening, right? Don't do evil, do good. But let's embrace it.
Yeah, and Conrad Feldman, our CEO, talked about this in the last Innovate web series.
Yeah, that's right.
The internet's not free. It does require for many publishers that
But I want to keep it free, right? Don't you want to keep it free? I don't like it when I get into especially, by the way, I love the news, right? So I want to read the news too. I don't like it when I have to subscribe or I'm over my article count, right? I want those publishers to be successful. I want them to have free content out there so I can just, go read it. I love, reading great news stories. So any news story, right? It depends. So I want to get that content for free. We are the industry that is fueling that.
Yep. A question from Fernandez about kind of some examples or maybe some specifics around, how algorithms are being used. You give an example of, how these algorithms have helped identify, a pattern, preference, or prediction kind of in the marketing world, what that might look like in a real life example.
Yeah, I think, so the models are being trained, like at Quantcast, we're training models in real time all the time. Okay. So the data is live. So what you want to do is find out what is the behavior, and the models can also be augmented with other data, right? So you need an original data set. You could augment it with other data. And, the example I was giving about the yoga clothing was that this company could see a pattern with their data, because apparently people use credit cards differently by gender, which I did not know. Who would have thought, right? So you have a different pattern that started to emerge. So that company started revealing, or started merchandising male yoga clothes, workout clothes, and they're quite successful. So that was an algorithm that, that was a model that a data scientist built based on variables that no human, I think, would have actually seen right away. I do believe humans need to be in the loop, because we have to guard against what AI can do and not do, because we're also smarter than any AI system out there. I do have to say that. But that was an example of, one case where you could see there were things starting to emerge. Was it a pattern? Were there preferences in there? The model revealed that.
Yeah. And I think one thing that stuck out to me, being around this data for 6.5 years, some of the insights are really simple. It is, what day to send your email blasts out, or, a slight preference on ad.
Yeah, that's true, Taylor. It's like we can look at those. Those are models of like when's the best time to reach your audience? Where is your audience? At what time? What time of day? And then, other ways in which you can use data is like I said, augmenting data, like weather data. Like if it's raining or there's, snow, that impacts your data set. So you need to keep recalculating. There's major apps like ride sharing apps that use AI machine learning to recalculate route all the time, but also where surge pricing is going to happen. That's all AI, right? Yeah. So then having that at your, fingertips, and being able to do that, think about the problems you're trying to solve in order to get your product out to market. How can you use those patterns and preferences and predictions about how can you, really grow your business?
And one of the more complex.
Sometimes it's like you don't even know where that answer is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen that time and again with partners, and we were talking earlier about one of the examples I love in kind of a grander scale in trying to identify bot activity or fraud across the web. And Dr. Peter Day, our CTO, does a demonstration and shows, I think the correct term is a neural network of kind of a 3D model of, because we have such a large footprint across the web, here's all the human behavior across the web, and here's this little patch of fraud behavior, and it looks like this. And allowing us to see those patterns on a really large scale is another great application.
Yeah, well, that is definitely true. So credit risk, credit scores are all being done. This really fascinating field. So we used to all have FICO scores, which I think we still all have. There's new ways of looking at credit. And there was one example that I'm aware of that a credit score in Latin America, certain countries, was increased by the number of windows a person had in their house. And a correlation you would not have known. So then ask people how many windows do you have in your house? And they were a good credit risk. Very interesting ways of looking at the data. Why more windows meant more education, potentially, more outlook on life. It was quite fascinating to hear, you don't know what you're going to know, right? But the AI surfaces these correlations that you didn't really expect, and they start to hold up, and that's a model you start to train and build and look for.
Wow, that's very interesting.
That one was an interesting one always to me, like the number of windows.
That's great. And for those of you who don't know, Conrad Feldman, our CEO before Quantcast, he had a company that was actually identifying fraud in the banking system and using a lot of the same AI principles.
It's a big area for AI is fraud detection, credit risk scoring, anti-money laundering or money laundering. All of that is being caught by AI. ATM fraud, I always love that one, where in the moment, like if you're entering a check into an ATM, paper check, how do they know it's fraudulent or not? That's an AI, right? Running that's detecting something instantaneously at scale, right?
Scott in here has a second question. We love repeat askers, just as many questions as you got, throw them in here. So Scott talks about, a lot of the examples we used were around consumer related points.
Yeah.
He talked about being outdoorsy, shopping for the next gear, but AI as it functions differently for, a really precise job title, like a manufacturing
You
production.
can do that, right?
Yeah. What is the difference in how we approach something like that and kind of the effectiveness of the AI?
Well, you can see that, and sometimes you can look for job titles, or there it gets complicated, right? But you can look at job titles because you can start searching on people that way through an AI if that's one of the fields, one of the variables. So think of every field in a data set as a variable. If you're familiar with math, if you took algebra, and I would imagine everybody on this call probably took algebra, those are the variables, right? So think about all the variables of a consumer pattern, right? We have so many different variables that we're emitting off of ourselves, whether it's our job title, our company, our industry, check. Becomes this huge matrix. And if you want to go after a certain demographic, so to speak, that's how you can do it. But that's where an AI a machine learning algorithm really takes off, because it can take those, let's say 100 variables per person, right? It's not just male, female, who cares, right? It's not just, it's about zip code and, maybe education level, maybe, age is one thing, but maybe that's not it. Maybe it's income. And so title is one of those, right? So that's part of the variable equation that you're solving for. And you can ask an AI, you can ask it to give you that back. Now, there's a lot of solutions out there, and there's also data scientists creating solutions for companies, which we haven't even touched on, which is you can have a data science team within your company. You ask them the right questions, they can find the answer in your data, right? You could ask them if you have a data science team, whether attached to your business unit or central to your company, they have data. And by the way, if they don't have the data, they can go get the data. They can go, augment current data sets with other people's data. There's data marketplaces out there. There's companies selling data as a service. So you can augment all of your intelligence with additional data that's beyond the scope of your business. That is another part of what's happening today. And there's a number of, like I said, number of startups doing that today. Marketplaces for data is a big and up and coming area, because it's like the more data, the better. And so if you had a data science team or even a very savvy business analyst, I will tell you that business analysts graduating out of college right now have data science as part of the pedigree. It's part of the classes they are taking. So go look at new college grads to go help you go look into the data and get answers for you.
And then that's actually a great segue to a question here from Ali about just having all that amount of data. The question, let's say we're sitting on a trove of first-party data, but they live in different systems. What is the natural step for an organization in that situation? Do you leverage a DMP? How do you aggregate everything to really leverage the AI?
So that's bringing it to, that's in the solution itself, right? So we can augment our data at Quantcast with your data, your first party data, your business data. I believe that is possible. I'm still new at the company, but I believe that's possible. There's other AI systems and machine learning systems where you can add different data sets and augment into a platform to bring different data sets in to get those answers. So, and I think that's the future of where we're going with data and AI, is augmenting our data sets with other people's data sets. And I think about, like, Zillow has data sets, right? They have so much data about what's happening in your neighborhood and about what are the trend lines. But that's important for you, like if you're a retailer and that data about, what's happening in that neighborhood around that retail outlet, that's important to put together. Weather data is another important, weather trends, historical data about what's been sold in the past, obviously. But it's the other sets of data that are going to give you insights. And I will say I won't plug a company here, but there are several startups in this space that actually can, God, I wish I could talk about them, but I don't have an affiliation with them. So basically they are looking at, you give them a model and they tell you what other data sets you should be including in order to get more accuracy out of that model. Okay. I can't tell you who it is, but it's a very cool company out of Tel Aviv. Very cool company doing some incredible work. And that's where I think the world is going.
We'll try and connect the dots from there.
You can connect the dots. Anyone can always email me or Slack me, LinkedIn me, message me.
Perfect. A question from Nat here, and this certainly I think is a perfect question given your experience and how you've had to make these decisions. Obviously, AI helps us with the efficiency of our audience predictions, finding those patterns for the targeting. How do you then decide, amongst all your different targeting options? You got, contextual, you can do a PMP deal, you can do these direct buys. How do you then kind of start to make the decisions between these different buying mechanisms as a marketer?
I think for me personally, I use data appropriately and I marry it with my gut feel and what I know about my business, right? So I don't think humans are ever going away, because we're so much more intelligent, because we could be wrong, but we can adjust fast, right? But you have your innate, sense of your business, your base. Use the data to help inform your decision making. That's the way I look at it. There's no way I'm ever going to rely upon a full system, not right now, to help me make all of those other decisions. I still am looking at my experience level, what I hear from the market, what I observe myself. Humans in the loop are still very, very important.
And certainly testing is an important piece of that as well.
Testing, A/B testing, of course, all of that. But my results on A/B testing have always been 49, 51%. So I'm like, it's a coin toss. So I'm going to decide. Just so you know, that's been my experience. So I'm like, well, I like this headline or I like this content better. I'm going with this one and you can't go wrong. Yeah. And I think it really is, what do I juggle all day long? I think as marketers, we juggle all of those decisions so much faster. Use the data help to inform you. The one example about the retailer that had the yoga clothes, that's not something I personally would have predicted. But when I saw that, if I had seen that data, I would have been like, whoa, we have another demographic we didn't even think about. we need to go build a we need to go explore that as a market. And they did, and they're winning.
Yeah, and I love we always need that human element, and that's I think central to how Quantcast is approaching marketing. Using the AI and machine learning to do as much as possible, but also we need, when we see that yoga insight, we need to apply some human understanding to the business.
Yeah, you got to have some human understanding. Maybe ask some people, go observe what's going on, because maybe you wouldn't believe it right away. Or you'd be like, that can't be, that doesn't make sense. So you'd really want to go drill into it. So that's where your human understanding comes in, and observability. That may be where you want to go, but we can automate a lot of the heavy lifting, and a lot of like bid management around, where do you place your bets? That's all, we automate all of that. But what you can't, some of the creatives, you still want to have, you want to look at your creative, and I think people are, the Super Bowl shows me again how creative some of our big brands are out there. And it's great to see, when you see that emotional connection to a brand. There was some controversy about some of them being too, sentimental, too emotional, and dividing, but I thought they were brilliant. And that was humans that did that.
Mm-hmm. Question from Jake, and I think maybe I can take this one. Jake asked just how you connect your business, connect the business to the data system with Measure, and other Quantcast tools that we have available to incorporate AI into the marketing. And Jake, I'd be happy to have that conversation with you offline as well, and a little more in depth. But from a high level, Measure is a free tool to access. Our publishers have had free access at varying levels since about 2006. And anyone on the commercial side can get you set up with pixels to help get a live understanding of your data. We can also work with your CRM data. And then over the course of a campaign, we have a number of tools available to help show you the potential scale and reach of your campaign, give you some insights into audiences that you might not know about, maybe based on search intent or some data that augments what you're already looking at. So obviously a lot of ways to take that conversation, but if you have some questions on specific tools, anyone on the commercial side, we can definitely help answer that one for you.
Thanks, Taylor. What he said.
Question from Sally here, asking about suggestions. When you're a small budget marketer, maybe it's a startup, maybe it's one of the a D2C company, or smaller agency. What are some suggestions to try and leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning? Maybe if you can't have access to the big tools.
I don't think you need the big tools, actually. Be smart about your MarTech, ad tech stack. Invest in only what you really need to invest in. There's some great MarTech tools out there. Definitely, we have Quantcast Measure, which is free. You can get started today. And you can be looking at your audience and plan. I know a lot of marketers use Quantcast Measure, even though we kind of started on the publisher side, but a lot of them use it to look at their audience. Again, it's free. You're peering into a first party, kind of consent backed, some of it consent backed, most of it we're hoping to have consent back soon in terms of, what data is out there. I'm not a big fan of wasting money. So I'm very leery of some of the other opportunities to reach audiences. Not a fan of some of the results I've gotten out of some of the walled gardens. So be careful that you don't overspend thinking that, well, here's where, we need to be spending and you're just not getting the results. Just be very leery of that. So be smart about it. I'd be happy to talk about it offline though.
Great. Yeah, and certainly as this becomes a more important topic, there's more access to it and more ways to leverage it, which is great.
Look, there's some great solutions out there, but I don't think you have to spend a lot of money. I think you just need to get your data together, make sure you have data, have a great website, great engagement in your social channels and so forth, and the rest will follow.
One question or topic that came up when you were chatting at CES was around how we trust our models and our artificial intelligence. And we've all seen Terminator and AI run amok. And so curious, how do we know what's going on in the models? How do we have that trust?
This is a big topic, topic, grande topic around trust in AI and bias in AI. In the field itself is called explainable AI. Okay, so in the machine learning, AI and machine learning space, there's a number of companies that are tackling this. So there's ways to guard against bias by using explainable AI techniques around the models that you've created. So data scientists are well aware of this. Bias does start in data sets in some cases, very, very much so. So because humans are biased, they've created biased data sets. I think I could give you a few examples, but I think in the interest of time, I won't. But you can think about, there is bias in data, so you got to guard against that first. There's bias in models, so you can guard against that with technology like explainable AI. And now that field is morphing into responsible AI, which is about people, processes, and the technology, because it starts with people, right? If we're biased, which we tend to be as people, that's just part of who we are. We've got to guard against that and making sure that our processes are not biased. Our hiring practices aren't biased. Our marketing practices aren't biased of who we're reaching out to, who we want to market to. And so you really have to think about people and processes, and then technology can help guard against, models that are really skewing one way or another. So there's technology to guard against the models that might be doing that, and that will build trust in the AI.
Yeah, it's such an important topic, and we see
It's a huge topic. We're actually going to tackle that at a couple of sessions. I think from now we should do that. And there's a lot of experts out there. Just look for explainable AI or responsible AI on the internet, and you'll find the vendors that are working on that, and some of the great technologists that are working on solving that. And I actually know some of them, so just you can always contact me.
And that's exactly what I was going to ask. If anyone wanted to reach out and connect with you, Ingrid, what's the best way to do so? Your email, or how should they get?
Yeah, you can contact the company, or you can go ingrid.burton@quantcast.com, or link me in and message me. I'm constantly looking at my LinkedIn messages. I get quite a few. So do that as well. I'd love to hear from any or all of you. And I'll try and get to it as fast as I can.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to wrap up here. Thank you for all of the great questions and
great questions.
Thank you to Ingrid for donating so much of your time here to go through such an important topic. Again, this was Demystifying AI for marketers, part of our INNOVATE webinar series at Quantcast. This was number 6. We're going to have more. We've had 5 previous really great sessions, so appreciate those repeat visitors. If you have questions, obviously you can email Ingrid or connect with her on LinkedIn. We also have an email address, innovate@quantcast.com, that will connect you to our group. I am tcore@quantcast.com, TCORR, if you want to get in touch with the commercial team. We will email a recording of the webinar to everyone who is here today. I do just want to, as a reminder, I know Ingrid talked about this, we have a virtual Nova coming up on March 3rd. We're really going to expand upon this topic, talk a little bit more about how it relates to Quantcast specifically, what we're doing ahead here in 2021. So registration is open for that one. Hope to see all of you there. But we'll let you get back to your Thursdays. Appreciate the time and look forward to seeing everyone here again soon.
Thank you all. Thank you, Taylor. Thanks. Goodbye.